If you invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 30 years ago and simply left it alone, based on the market's long-term average return, you'd have well over $150,000 today. That's the power of this one index. And yet, most people who've heard the phrase S&P 500 100 times couldn't actually tell you what it is. On the news, from a coworker, in the last few videos on this channel. But if someone asked you right now, what exactly is the S&P 500? Who decides what's in it? And why does literally every financial advisor point beginners toward it? Could you actually answer that? Most people can't. They know it's the stock market in some general sense. They know it goes up over time, that's about it. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what the S&P 500 is, how companies get in and out of it, what its actual long-term track record looks like, including the scary parts, and why this single index has quietly built more retirement wealth than almost any other investment vehicle in history. Everything in this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Historical returns are not a guarantee of future performance. This is video 8 in our series. Last video we covered the difference between index funds and ETFs. If you haven't watched that yet, it'll help this one click into place even faster. Link in the description. The S&P 500 stands for Standard & Poor's 500. It's a stock market index that tracks 500 of the largest and most profitable publicly traded companies in the United States. That's the simple definition. But let's go one layer deeper because the details matter. The index is maintained by a company called S&P Dow Jones Indices, a joint venture that includes S&P Global. A committee at that company decides which companies qualify for inclusion based on a specific set of rules. To be included, a company generally needs a market value above a certain threshold, currently in the billions of dollars, positive earnings over the most recent quarter, and the sum of the last 4 quarters, sufficient trading liquidity, and it must be a US company headquartered and primarily listed in the United States. This is important. The S&P 500 is not simply the 500 biggest companies. It's the 500 biggest companies that also meet a profitability and stability bar. That filtering is part of why the index has historically performed so reliably. Companies that are losing money or too unstable don't make the cut. The S&P 500 isn't static. It changes constantly, which is actually one of its most underappreciated strengths. A committee reviews the index regularly and makes changes as needed, sometimes multiple times a month. When a company gets too small, gets acquired, goes bankrupt, or no longer meets the criteria, it gets removed. A new company that meets the bar gets added in its place. This matters enormously for one reason. The index automatically stays current. You will never be stuck holding a portfolio of companies from 1995 that have since become irrelevant. As old giants decline and new giants rise, the index quietly replaces them for you. Think about companies that were S&P 500 staples decades ago that have since been removed, and compare that to companies added more recently that didn't even exist as public companies a few decades back. The index evolves with the economy. You don't have to do anything. The replacement happens automatically, built into the structure of what you own. This is one of the most overlooked advantages of index investing. You're never betting on any single company staying relevant forever. You're betting on American business broadly continuing to innovate and replace its own leaders, which is a much safer bet. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. The S&P 500 is not 500 equal slices. It's weighted by market capitalization, meaning bigger companies make up a much larger percentage of the index than smaller ones. The largest handful of companies in the index, typically the major technology giants, can make up a significant portion of the total index value, sometimes 25 to 35% combined, depending on market conditions. Meanwhile, the smallest companies in the index might each represent a tiny fraction of a percent. What this means practically, when you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you're not getting equal exposure to all 500 companies. You're getting heavily weighted exposure to whichever companies are currently the largest and most successful, with smaller exposure to everything else. This weighting changes over time too, as company values rise and fall relative to each other. You don't need to track or adjust this yourself. The index fund automatically rebalances to reflect current weightings as part of how it operates. Now let's talk about what this index has actually returned. And let's be honest about the rough patches too, because that honesty is what makes the long-term numbers believable. Over its full history, the S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% per year before accounting for inflation, and roughly 7% per year after adjusting for inflation. This is measured over many decades, including multiple recessions, crashes, and recoveries. But that average hides real volatility. Let's look at some of the roughest periods. During the 2008 financial crisis, the index fell by roughly 37% in a single year. During the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, it dropped over 30% in just about a month. In 2022, rising interest rates drove a decline of around 18 to 19% for the year. Here's the part that matters most though. In every single one of these cases, the index eventually recovered and went on to reach new highs. The investors who got hurt weren't the ones who held through the downturn, they were the ones who panicked and sold at the bottom, locking in their losses permanently. This is exactly why dollar cost averaging, which we covered in the $100 a month video, works so well with this index specifically. When the index drops, your fixed monthly contribution buys more shares at a lower price. You're not trying to predict the crash or the recovery, you're just consistently buying, regardless of what the headlines say that week. One more thing worth understanding. When financial media says a stock beat the market or a fund manager underperformed the market they're almost always referring to is the S&P 500. It's become the default benchmark because it's broad enough to represent the overall US economy, but focused enough to be meaningful. Large, established, profitable companies rather than every speculative stock that exists. This is also why the statistic we mentioned in the last video is so significant, that the majority of professional fund managers, who are paid substantial fees and work full-time trying to pick winning stocks, fail to beat this index over long periods. If the professionals with research teams and trading desks can't reliably beat it, that tells you something important about trying to outsmart it yourself. Let's bring it together. The S&P 500 tracks 500 of the largest, most established, profitable companies in the US, selected and maintained by a committee with specific qualifying criteria. It's weighted by company size, not equal slices, meaning the largest companies have outsized influence on its performance. It automatically replaces declining companies with rising ones, so you're never stuck holding yesterday's giants. Historically, it's returned around 10% per year before inflation and around 7% after inflation over long periods. But that average includes real crashes of 30% or more, which have always eventually recovered for investors who stayed invested. If you're invested in an S&P 500 index fund, and based on the last two videos, many of you now are, you now understand exactly what you own and why it has historically been one of the most reliable long-term wealth-building tools available to ordinary investors. Next video, we're tackling a question almost every new investor asks. Roth IRA or traditional IRA? Which one should you actually choose? The answer depends on one specific factor about your future that most people never consider. That video will make the decision simple. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next one.